Happy Saturday, Instagram and Facebook. Let's make sure that we are live in all places. If you can hear me, you may even hear the music, let me know. I just want to jump into Facebook real quick. Make sure that we are running live. Looks like we are. Let's make sure we can hear it. Let me know. I just want to jump. Beautiful. All right, so let's get going. All right. Yeah, as you're jumping on, do me a favor. Let me know. Say hello. Let me know where you're coming from. I'm here in my office in Laguna, and just in here doing my thing as we get going. So here's the deal. Wisconsin is in the house. I wanted to jump in here because something came up this week. We were just having this conversation with someone about this whole thing of, building wealth and why we want to build wealth. And Charles Hunter's in the house. Let me make sure. I'm going to just shift this over so I can see the chats, because I want to be able to chat with you also. And so here's the thing. We were having this conversation about building wealth and about money and the question of how much is enough, the question of why, all that type of stuff. And now I'm going to just say it up front, is that one of the things that people struggle with is this, look, building wealth, building money, getting the money game right. It's not easy, in the sense that if we don't understand it, if we don't understand the principles, if we don't understand the tactics and the strategies, it can feel challenging. But really the challenge isn't driven by not understanding the tactics. It's actually driven by not understanding your why. See, money is truly just a result. It's not a purpose. Okay? When we are driven as money as the result and not purpose as the result, our resourcefulness goes down. And so I think it's really important for us to, when we set out and we say, I want to start to build wealth. I've got the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. We're running the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. We're talking a lot about money. We're talking about wealth. We're talking about freedom and financial independence and all of that. We've got the Money Plan Challenge. It's a 7-day free challenge you can go through. I'm running the Affluent Entrepreneur Live, which is a 3-part live training series that I'm going to start, that's starting October 28th, and that you can join. All of it is talking about money and wealth building, but it's really more importantly talking about life. It's talking about creating the richness in life. I just had the blessing of traveling for a week to London, England, and having and doing that with my wife. And this is one of the things that we love to do, is to travel. And you may love to travel. I got a dear friend of mine, Rick, who loves to go fly fishing, and Randy, who loves to go fly fishing and those kinds of things. What is it that you love to do? The reasons that we want to build wealth, the why that starts to drive everything. So here's the thing. For those of you that are following me, many of you may know me, some of you may not. I got into this at the hands of a 6-year-old boy. It may sound strange or funny, but that's really how this happened. Is that I'm a CPA by education. For those that don't know, I've been in the money game for a while. I've been in the business game. I've been building businesses and buying and selling businesses and doing those things and consulting with entrepreneurs and startup entrepreneurs to large entrepreneurs. Well, I had partners at one point in time, and the partners pushed me out of the firm, saying, we don't want to be partnered with you anymore. I was going a different direction. I totally get it. I wasn't going down the traditional road. And so there I was, sitting outside the firm with no clients, with no client backlog, with no cash flow. And I had just bought a house. So I was $300,000+ in debt. And I'm like freaked out. So one of the challenges was that I'm sitting back saying, how do I do this? Now, that happened to be the same year that I became a single full-time dad. It was when my son came to live with me. He was 5.5, 6 years old at the time. And so I had the greatest gift that a person could have, and that is that of being a dad, being a parent. Those parents that are out there, you know what it's like. Now, there's certainly aggravating times, but by and large, it's one of the greatest gifts that we could have. And so I was struggling with this idea of, how do I take care of my son? How do I take care of the gift that was given to me and live the dream of being an entrepreneur and that the kind of entrepreneur that I wanted to be? And so the thing that I looked at was Jeremy, my son, literally became my why. Literally became my why. Everything I did was driven by Jeremy. And so when you start to understand and start to ask yourself, what is the why behind it? Because so often someone will come and say, no, I want to make $1 million. Or I want to have $1 million business. Or I want to have $1 million in the bank. I don't know what it is about that magic million. My first question to them is, why? Why? See, here's the thing, and I'm going to jump to, for those of you that are on Facebook, you'll be able to see this. For those of you, unfortunately, on IG, you won't be able to see this, but you can watch it on Facebook or YouTube and everything. But I'll describe it for you too, because running a business is actually pretty straightforward. Being successful in business is pretty straightforward. When we start to look at running a business, we start to look at how do we do this? To be successful in business, there's a couple things that we need to consider. We need to minimize the downside. In other words, how do we reduce the risk? So we minimize the downside on one side. Then the second piece that we need to do, and this is something that I learned at the hands of Jeremy, is we need to maximize the upside. So what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is really saying, when you're in business, we need to really look at what are the risks and what are the opportunities. I need to minimize the risks. And too often people say entrepreneurs are risk takers. They're not. They're actually risk mitigators. They're folks that are looking at, how do I reduce the risks at a level that makes sense. And so you want to minimize the risks and you want to maximize the opportunities. You want to take hold of the opportunities. And this is really comes down to what I call the mechanics of business, okay, and your business model. So it's really talking about the mechanics of business and the business model. This starts to drive everything you do. But this is what I was doing. I was actually doing really well with the mechanics of business, with my business model. I was driving everything. Everything was fine until Jeremy came in one day. He comes running in from school one day and he says, Daddy, I drew a picture of you at school today. And so I knelt down, I picked up this picture, and there I was in blue felt tip pen. 2 computer screens in front of me, kind of like this, a phone in each ear, and I'm one on the desk ringing. And in a moment, I realized I was screwing it up. In a moment, I realized that the greatest gift that I was given was to be a dad. And I was botching it. And it would have been really easy for me to look at Jeremy and say, hey, dude, this is the way I keep the roof over our heads. This is the way that we get to do the things that we want to do. But in his eyes, we weren't doing the things we wanted to do. We weren't having fun. He saw his dad as working. I was failing because what I didn't realize is that he didn't care about my profits. He cared about my presence. And that's when it dawned on me. Yeah, we can minimize the downside and maximize the upside. But the reality is that all that is how we do business and what we do for business. That deals with the how and the what. That's all below the line. What's above the line? See, when we understand what's above the line starts to drive everything that we're doing. And so when we look at what's above the line, that's really about lifestyle and legacy. And when we talk about this idea of lifestyle and legacy, this is where I want to talk about in the sense of building wealth is not just about building wealth, the money in the bank, because wealth is a statistic. It's just a number. But it's about the richness that comes from that wealth. It's about the richness that comes from the purpose behind the money that starts to drive everything. Because legacy and lifestyle, we can talk about legacy because I look at legacy differently, is really about this whole idea of meaning and values. So let's look at this. The reality is that in order to run business, I need to minimize the downside. I need to maximize the upside, which is the how and the what of your business. But above the line is your lifestyle and the legacy you're creating, which is about the meaning of business and the values, which is truly why you do business. And until we get why right, we can't make the decisions below the line on the risks and the opportunities correctly. And Jeremy, when I started to understand this, when he drew that picture, it got me to start to look at this in a whole different light, to start to look at business in a way that said, how do you create a business that allows the lifestyle and the legacy to coexist with the opportunity and the risks? How do you create it where you create a life? See, once I understood that every business equation has in it lifestyle as a variable, it allowed me to start to understand why is the thing that informs everything. Every decision below the line about the risks I'm going to take on, about the opportunities I'm going to chase, is driven by how it impacts my lifestyle and how it impacts my legacy. It's about the meaning and the values. And I want to bring that to the surface because when we talk about, and when I'm talking to clients about this idea of wealth building and financial freedom, we can't have financial freedom if we don't understand what the meaning and the values are in our lives. Now, mine may be different than yours. Yours may be different than your neighbor's. Totally fine. It's not about us being on the same page. It's about you getting really clear on what's important to you. It doesn't matter to me whether you want to have some mansion, some castle somewhere, or you just want to live in a teepee in Montana or a yacht in Monaco. It just doesn't matter. What really matters is that you're living true to your ideals, true to your values. The money isn't going to give you the happiness until you get that part straight. So we can give you the tactics. We can give you the strategies to build wealth. We can help you maximize the profits in your business. But before we do that, we need to understand that the money is a result of everything we do. But it's a result of the purpose. Money's not a purpose. This came full circle to me with one of my dear friends, Allison J. Prince. I don't know if some of you may know her, some of you may not, but Allison J. Prince, she does a lot of e-commerce stuff. And when she came to me, she called me one time out of the blue, and she says, Mel, I gotta, you're probably the only one that I could have this conversation with. And I said, what's up? She says, I hit my numbers. And I go, well, that's great. You should be celebrating. I said, and she said, I know. And I said, but why do I get the feeling that you're not happy? She goes, no, I'm happy, but I'm confused. And I said, what do you mean you're confused? She says, she says, what do I do now? I go, what do you mean? She says, do I just increase the numbers? Do I just ratchet them up and do it again? And I said, oh, well, let's just have this conversation about below the line, above the line, and what your why is. See, the thing that was driving Allison is this core desire to give women especially the opportunity to live an independent and free life. And so what we did is we restructured her business model to fill that. And what we did was every time she made a sale, she would fund a microloan for a woman in a third world country. And so I got a text from her, and I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but I'll paraphrase it. She got a text from her, and she says, I just completed a launch, and we blew the doors off. Average value was $1,100, okay, which is freaking phenomenal. I mean, it's just amazing. So, but she said, we sold like 1,100 units. And she said, you know what that means? She said, $105,000 goes to charity. She says, that's over 5,000 women and 5,000 microloans and 5,000 women and families that have the promise and the possibility of independence. She says, my heart's full. Now, I've talked to her recently, and that number is no longer 5,000. It's somewhere above 8,000, and it continues to climb. And the beautiful thing is, when she makes those microloans, she doesn't do it in her name. She does it in her customer's name. She gives them the credit. She gives them the joy to know that they are doing that. So my question to you, and this is what came up this week, is this whole question of, let's build wealth. And let me help you build wealth. Let me help you understand what does it take to build wealth as an entrepreneur, to build financial freedom so you're not imprisoned in this business that you thought was going to give you freedom. But let's do it to satisfy your why. Let's do it in a way that you start to look at things and say, I'm going to do this to make sure that I satisfy my why. So I got a couple of questions for you that you can just ponder on and maybe journal on. And that is this. What are 1 or 2 or 3 emotionally compelling reasons that you want to build wealth, that you want to have financial freedom, that you want to have financial independence? What is it? And it can't be the money in the bank account, because that's fleeting. That's not going to last. It's something bigger than that. It's something that's going to pull you forward when things get tough, when you hit the rapids, when you hit the wall, when you hit the obstacle, when things just don't go your way. It's going to be something bigger. Because it's that's going to draw you forward. That's what's drawing Allison forward. It's what's drawing me forward. Many of you know that I've been through a 2.5 years now battle with cancer. I'm fine now. Okay, in fact, I go in for a scope in a few weeks again. Okay, but at the time, that started to, turn my life upside down. Life was really good. Turned my life upside down. And when I got diagnosed, I was like, well, wait a second, I got more life to live. I got the time with my wife, the time with my son and his wife, the fact that, I want to live to make a difference. I want to live to see my grandchild, which just was born. My granddaughter was born 2.5 months ago, so I'm a recent granddad. I want to live. There was something else that was pulling me through to fight this battle. And then on the other side of that is this whole reason that I launched the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. It's the whole reason of this new phase of me being more open about having the conversations around money, because the beautiful thing of it is, if there is such a thing, is that, look, I had to fight the cancer physically. I had to fight it mentally. I had to fight it emotionally. I had to fight it psychologically. I had to fight it medically. I didn't have to fight it financially. And the whole reason I didn't have to fight it financially is because of the lessons that I learned when Jeremy drew that picture of me, that forced me to re-examine my life and my business and the way I did business and the way I did money. And over time, figuring out, how do you do business in a way that you're not trapped in the business and you have the freedom from the business. But more importantly, that you build a financial machine, a money machine as I call it, that gives you the flexibility and the ability to say, I'm out. I'm not going to work for 2 years, which is what I did. I stopped everything for 2 years so I could focus on healing. But I didn't drain the savings. I didn't sell things. I didn't have to worry about that because I figured it out. So here's the thing. Figure out your why. 2, maybe 3 things that are going to draw you through the tough times. Then let's figure out how much and how. Let's give you the tools to make that happen. And if you're with me still, here's what I want you to do, okay? I'm actually going to try and help to do this because I've had a lot of people ask, hey, can we go deeper with you? Can we have some time with you? And I said, yeah, you know what? What I decided to do is I'm going to do a 3-part live training series, free, okay? Starting October 28th, it's called the Affluent Entrepreneur Live. I'm doing 3 parts. We're going to dig in. I'm going to talk about the affluence journey. I'm going to talk about the obstacles that get in the way of building wealth as an entrepreneur or just as an individual. How do you squash that? How do you deal with that? What are the five core principles that will drive wealth? What's your number? Let's figure out your number. Let's figure out the destination so you know what the finish line looks like. We're going to go through all of that, and then we're also going to sit back and say, all right, now that we know your number, now that we know the obstacles, now that we've crushed the obstacle, let's give you the 9 things you need to have in place to make it happen, to give you the gift of financial independence, to give you the gift of financial liberation, to give you the gift of living a richer lifestyle, having a deeper impact, and having complete freedom. So that's October 28th. If you want to join me, go to affluencelive.com. Those of you on Facebook, you'll see the link here. Well, for those on Instagram, it's in my bio. But go to affluencelive.com. Grab your spot. It's free. Spend 3 sessions with me. I've got a workbook that you're going to see. In fact, I have it here. We're going to go through the workbook. We're going to fill out some frameworks. We're going to give you some things. It's just me and you having a real conversation around business, around wealth, around money, about freedom, around life. Okay, so go to affluencelive.com, grab your spot, let's dig deeper, all right? And if you have questions, if you have challenges that you're dealing with from a money, from a wealth, from a business standpoint, shoot them my way. We'll bring them up, we'll deal with them on the training, we'll deal with them here. I'm going to be doing some more lives, and just let me know. Say hi, let me know, and keep going. So here's what I'd love for you to do now is grab your spot at the Affluent Entrepreneur Live. Mark it in your calendar. October 28th is the first training, and there's going to be 2 more after that. We'll go about 90 minutes, and I'm going to go deep. You'll have the action guide. We'll go through the exercises. I'm going to try to move you down the path of the affluence journey to get you to that place of affluence and do it the right way, in the way that I've watched and I've done for myself, for my clients. Jeremy and Cammie, my son and his wife, 31 and 28 years old with their first child. They already have 3 homes and they have a multi-million-dollar net worth. Working on the principles that I'm going to teach in those 3 trainings. So join me at the Affluent Entrepreneur Live, October 28th. We'll put the links in here. If you have questions, anyone have any questions, post them, let me know, and let's let's do this thing. Okay? Let me help you out, whether it's wealth, money, or business or life. All right? I'm going to sign off. I'm going to let you guys get back to your Saturday. I'll get back to mine. I just felt a tug on my heart with what the conversations were that I had this week. To jump in here live, to have a conversation with you, to put this out there and give you some things to think about on this weekend. We're heading towards holiday season, and it's a perfect time to start asking our questions about why. Why do we want to do what we want to do? Why do we want to be where we want to be? Why do we want to be in the relationships we want to be in? Because when we understand those whys, it cements us far greater into the places we belong, to be congruent, to be aligned, to keep moving forward. So I hope this serves you. It was good to jump in here and see some familiar names, some familiar faces, and have a chance to have a conversation. All right? We'll talk soon. You keep rocking, and let me know if I can help you in any way. All right? Keep rocking. I'll see you in the next live. All right? Cheers to y'all.